Hi everybody, this is Colleen from the Sherburne Public Library, and tonight I'm going to show you how to make some pumpkin seeds for a snack, a delicious snack. This is part of some videos that we're trying to do to help you celebrate and get in the spirit of fall and autumn and the season. So tonight we're going to do pumpkin seeds. So the recipe calls for about 6 to 8 cups of water, about 5 tablespoons of salt, and then pumpkin seeds. You can get these from your pumpkin, your jack-o'-lantern that you've cut open and pulled out. Those are the best kind to use. Use them fresh. I actually did mine last night, and so I put them in the refrigerator overnight, and they should be ready to be boiled because that's what we're going to do. So basically, it's you boil it in salt. You drain it, you put it on a cookie sheet, and you bake it. And then you have these delicious pumpkin seeds. So we're going to get started. So I've already added the salt to my water, and I'm going to let it come to a boil. And then once I do, I've got my pumpkin seeds ready to go, and I'm just going to dump them in. And then what'll happen is we're going to let it boil. And you're going to let it boil for, I'm trying to look at like 15 or 20 minutes. Probably longer is better. And I also think that the more salt you add to it, the more, it'll get into the pumpkin seeds better. So I have a little more water than the 5 to 6 cups or 6 to 8 cups that I said in the beginning. So I always do it in a bigger pot. But, this is one of those recipes that you can kind of improvise and figure out what works best. So I usually put a little more than that. I've got a pretty big pot here, but the ratio to water to pumpkin seeds is, there's no measure to it really. As long as you got some water in there and some salt and some pumpkin seeds, it's going to happen. So that's what we're going to do. As soon as this comes to a boil, I'm going to put those in and we're going to boil them. While I'm waiting for it to boil, I just wanted to let you know that you're going to want your oven at about 325 degrees, and you're going to need a sheet pan or a cookie sheet to lay out all of the pumpkin seeds so that when they dry, so they can dry and cook in the oven. The other thing I should say is that this recipe I got from my brother-in-law, actually, many years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago. That was from Kip Warren. And he's the one who gave me the recipe. And I know when he gave it to me, he was like, I think these are the measurements. So I wrote down what he told me, and I've used it for years. Almost every year when we've done our jack-o'-lanterns, I always, toast the pumpkin seeds because they taste so good. And they're such a great treat. I mean, this is a great time of year to have them, and this is a good treat to have. So definitely recommend that. So the water is just starting to boil. So I'm just going to show that to you, what that kind of looks like. And I'm going to just give it a stir. I'm going to keep stirring it just to keep it moving and keep all of them in there. But you can see I have a lot of water, big water ratio to the actual pumpkin seeds. But I don't think that's going to hurt anything. As long as you've put in a good amount of salt so that it's a salty water, that's what's going to give it the salty flavor. And of course, if you're, salt is not a good thing for your diet, you can certainly just boil them or use a very small amount of salt and boil them, and then just put them in the oven and let them toast. And then if you want to add your own seasoning, I mean, there are other saltless type seasonings out there. I'm sure you could add. There's some really great stuff, like you could always add garlic powder or garlic, granulated garlic, onion powder. We have some flavorings that we have used from a company called Flavor God, and they have some really interesting flavors. I'll show you what I've got so far that might work for pumpkin seeds. I've got one that's called cheese seasoning, but there's no actual cheese in it. So there's really no fat, and it just has, it has garlic. It uses garlic. That's one of the big things to make it but it really does taste like a cheese, like a Parmesan, which is great. It's a good substitute. Another one that we have is called Fiesta Sweet and Tangy Seasoning. Now this might be a good one to use for, this also would give you like a sweet, spicy, you know, flavor, which would be really good, I would think. And then I also think you could use other seasonings. I mean, pepper is always a good seasoning. I think black pepper is a really good one. But you know, you could add Italian seasoning. You could make them sweet if you really wanted to. You could sprinkle on some cinnamon and sugar, or brown sugar, or I don't know. I think the possibilities are endless. So I'm going to show you my stuff right now. It's getting even more boiling. I can see it. It's getting ready. I know it doesn't look like it much, but I can hear it. The water. See, it's starting to foam up there, so it's really starting to boil, which is good. That's a good thing. So we're just going to let it start boiling, and we'll start timing it, and then we'll come back in a minute, and we'll get them spread out there after they've boiled. So it's really boiling now. You can see the steam, and you can see it's like a big roiling boil. So I'm going to turn it down just a little because I'm afraid that it's going to boil over on me, but that's okay for it to boil as heavy as it is. I think that's important. You can hear it. It's really boiling good. So, and you can see a little bit of, at least right in the beginning, you can see a little bit of the yellowish, orangey-ish of, and that's from the pumpkin guts, so to speak. But that's okay too. That'll just kind of boil off and you won't have to worry about it. Another tip when you're gathering your seeds, it's really important to get as much of the guts of the pumpkin out as you can when you're doing it, so you have a nice, you know, pretty clean pumpkin seeds when you put them in the water. It just makes it easier to deal with when you're trying to strain them out and make it ready to put, you know, on the pan. So we'll keep boiling and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so here's a little bit of an example of that kind of froth that I was talking about. See, it's got a yellowy orange look to it. But like I said, that is not a problem. That will you know, resolve itself once you finish boiling them and you strain it out. It's not even going to be an issue. So don't worry about it if you see it. Another thing you'll notice as these are boiling and you can realize that they're getting closer to ready is that they kind of change colors. They get a little more like almost translucent. So if you look at this, I'm going to bring up a scoop of them here. And you can kind of see how some of them have colors. Some of them are still kind of white, but there's definitely more of a gray, translucent-y look to them, like they're almost wet, which is really what's happening. I mean, they're getting ready to, you know, they're getting ready so that they will be wet enough inside so that you can put them on your pan to dry them out and roast them, basically. So just another thing you'll notice as you're cooking them. So okay, so we're almost ready to drain them. I've gotten out my colander, a handy little colander that I will pour all of the, you know, just pour it into there and let that drain out a little. And then we're going to spread it onto our cookie sheet so that we can get it in the oven and be ready to put it in to bake. So I just wanted to show you what they look like when they're pretty much ready, because they really do get a very wet appearance and they really change color. So I thought you should see that. So I'm going to try and angle that good enough so you can see it. But you can see them, they're all mostly just gray, that kind of gray wet look to them, which is what you want, because that means they've soaked through. They've got some of that salty goodness in them, so that it will carry through once we roast them. So I'm going to drain them, and then we will get them ready and get them on the cookie sheet. So I've drained them. You can see them here in my colander. They're all set, ready to be spread out on my cookie sheet, which I've got ready right over here. So we're going to do that, and then we'll get them in the oven. So you can see I've got them spread out in the pan, and they're fairly flat on there. You don't want them laying on top of each other, because of course that's just going to give you, it's going to take them longer. Now this isn't a very big batch of them, so this should cook pretty quickly. I'm going to put them in for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to check them, and they should be close to done by then. I don't really have a time for how long it takes for them to cook, but it's probably going to be at least 15 or 20 minutes. You really want them cooked till they're crispy, or maybe just starting to get a little brown. So I'm going to start that, and we'll see where we go. Okay, here's our finished product. You can see they're nice and crispy, and they're still very hot. But they could be a little browner, but I left these in. These were in for about 20 minutes. So I would suggest you go ahead and make this really delicious little treat. It'll nice snack watching a movie or enjoying the Halloween season. And I wish you all a happy Halloween. And me and my vampire Jack wish you Halloween happiness too. Have a great night, and thanks for watching. Come back soon. We'll do some more. Bye.